1980, about 60% of those living on less than the equivalent of $1 a day lived in Asia, approximately 600 to 700 million of them in China. By China's own poverty line, about 70 US cents a day, 245 million people, most of them rural peasants, were extremely impoverished. Surprisingly, by 1999, that number had dropped to 33 million, and it has continued to fall into the 21st century. What happened in China? Was it a miracle? Well, I guess you could say it was a miracle, the miracle of markets. Over the past 25 years, Chinese reforms have opened both domestic and international markets, with results worthy of hope and celebration. This classroom activity simulates the heart of those reforms, the process of increasing competition by allowing producers to freely enter and exit markets. In the simulation, students experience the wealth-enhancing effects of this openness, discovering for themselves that when it comes to markets, it really is the more the merrier. To prepare for the activity, consider class size and the division of roles. Designate an assistant to help with the distribution of materials and to play the role of the banker. With a class of 25 or more students, set up the room to start with 2 producers. Place a yellow roll card, a pile of plain silver paper clips, and some $1 currency notes on each producer's desks. You'll need 10 to 12 boxes of paper clips for a class of 25. The other class members will be workers. Selecting from 3 different colors, place a half sheet of colored paper on each of the workers' desks. For example, yellow paper for 1 or 2 students, blue paper for 3 to 5 students, and pink paper for the rest. Introduce students to the simulation by reading the opening scenario, which describes a poor country where the repressive government has recently been overthrown and the new government has promised economic growth and a better future. The location of the country is deliberately vague, but students will find the characteristics familiar from their general awareness of world news. We hear things like this in the news all the time. Poor countries, the government's repressive, they overthrow the government, and the new one coming in is going to make things better for people by industrializing. And clearly that is a step in the right direction. Next, explain that they have been assigned one of 2 roles, producer-seller or worker-buyer. Pile candy on the front desk and announce that the goal of the game is to do well, to earn as much income as possible, which can be used to purchase candy at the end of the activity. Candy and gum and stuff that's on the pile at the front of the desk. Review the role of the producer-sellers, demonstrating construction of the lovely 6 paperclip bracelets they will be offering for sale during the market period in each round. These bracelets, and the bracelets are made from paper clips. Okay, and she has to string together 6 paper clips, and Anna, you must actually close the loop so that they make a round ring. Remember to explain that each round has 2 parts, a production period and a market period. Hence, the role is called producer-seller. Emphasize that only the 2 licensed producers may make and sell bracelets. Do not belabor the point, but you may want to designate your assistant as a security officer to prevent resales and black markets. These can distract from the main point, and the real-world analogy is not undermined by excluding these elaborations. In gathering supplies, keep in mind that the bracelets should be identical. Don't use colored paper clips, or students in later rounds of the game will differentiate the product by making designer specials. While it's true that this would happen in real life, as would the black markets mentioned above, remember that the activity doesn't intend to replicate reality, but instead to simulate it. The first rule of conducting effective simulations is KISS, the keep it simple principle. It's hard sometimes to resist adding twists and elaborations to simulations, but try to do so. Remind yourself that the more you complicate the game, the more you complicate the debriefing, and you risk losing the specific learning focus that prompted the activity in the first place. One last point. Be aware that the size of people's hands has some influence on how quickly they can make bracelets, at least initially. You may or may not want to take that into account when selecting the initial producers. All right, the rest of you, your role is both that of a worker and a buyer. Next, explain the role of the workers' buyers. As workers in the country's mint, or Bureau of Printing and Engraving, they will be making currency. Each sheet of colored paper can be made into only 4 pieces of currency. Display the pictures of the different denominations. $1 notes have a picture of a schoolhouse. $5 notes have flowers, and 10-buck notes have butterflies. In the production round, each worker will, in essence, be making his or her own pay. Let me comment here that we were looking for a classroom management strategy, a way to keep the other students busy while the producers make bracelets, and we wanted one that was consistent with reality. We're happy to report that having the workers make currency fits both requirements. Students accept the analogy to working in the mint, and most surprising to us, even high school seniors seem to enjoy the chance to draw and color. Finally, reiterate the rules regarding how money is to be used in the game. Money that is not spent on bracelets will be collected at the end of the round. After all, this is a poor country, and poor people are unlikely to have savings accounts. Any money they don't spend on bracelets will be spent on other things, like bus fare or shoes, for example. Then, the banker gets to decide if money doesn't meet quality control standards. If a seller is worried that a buyer is trying to pay with counterfeit money, he can ask the banker. If the banker will accept the money in the producer's savings account, it's okay. Actually, this is just another classroom management tool, giving students an incentive to work on their currency throughout the production period. So the currency that you produce in each round is the currency that you will be able to use in purchasing bracelets from Anna. And the difference in what you're going to do and what Anna does is that she can use classroom bucks to buy candy. You cannot. You can only buy candy with bracelets. So you've got to get as many bracelets as you can in the course of the game in order to be able to buy the candy and gum at the end of the game. And last, but definitely not least, announce that each worker will get one piece of paper per round, and that each denomination of currency is a different color. Those few lucky workers with yellow paper will be making 10-buck notes. Blue paper will become 5-buck notes, and pink paper 1-buck notes. Announce the length of the production period, approximately 5 minutes, and start round 1. Go.
This is like the worst house ever.
All right, time. Put down all the production materials. At the end of the production round, remind students that the price of bracelets will be a market price, whatever an individual buyer can negotiate with an individual seller. Also, remind them to record their sales and purchases on their transaction records. And the market is open if you would like to buy bracelets.
I'll buy 2 for 10. 2 for 10? 2 for 10 a piece. 2 for 10.
I only have 4.
We'll buy the rest.
Mine broke.
There's no more bracelets.
One of the things that we know happens in markets is that markets generate some information. Now, we're going to speed up the process of the market spreading out that information because I'm going to collect it so that you can all see. Debrief so round 1 by collecting market information and by asking 1 or 2 students about their experiences. You made 10. Okay, and you've sold all 10? Okay, so got a little bit of information in the market, all right? Okay, now we're going to go to another. Before starting round 2, collect all of the currency. The producer's currency goes into their bank accounts, and the worker's currency has been spent on something. Then, collect all of the bracelets for safekeeping so they won't get stolen or resold in a black market. Tell buyers to carefully record their bracelet purchases so that they can retrieve them from the banker's safe at the end of the game. Distribute another sheet of paper to each worker, and remember, no changing colors. And make sure producers have enough paper clips. Note that acquiring resources is not a focus of this activity. Provide as many paper clips as producers can use. Important change here. Announce the opportunity for new producers to enter the market by purchasing a license at the end of the upcoming round. Right, now let me tell you another thing we're going to add as just a little twist here. After this next round, if you would like to become a producer seller like Anna, if you want to be like Anna, okay, then that possibility will exist. The government will be selling some more licenses, but that will be available after this next round. The production period in the second round should be the same length as in the first. However, the producers may actually make more bracelets as they become more experienced.
Oh.
110 for all. 120 for all.
20 for
30 for two.
I'll give you
120 for all.
20.
120 for all.
35 for your last one.
46.
Okay. Everybody got bracelets and money and etc. Okay, Anna, tell me the news here.
Okay. 5 for 15.
5 for 15, okay.
And then
At the end of the second round, sell licenses to would-be producers. You may add from 3 to 5 producers, but don't add so many that you run out of paper clips. Be a producer, and we've checked her out. She's a good, honest person, so I think we can do that. So, okay. All right. Okay, that's good. Cut off the license sales when the resources run out. Collect the currency and the bracelets from round 2. Record the sales. Hand out new half sheets of paper. Here's an important note for you as a facilitator. This activity intends to reveal changing bracelet prices resulting from changes in supply. However, we know that other things can influence prices, most notably the money supply. Therefore, it's very important that the money supply be kept stable from round to round. You must replace the money that was being produced by the people who left their jobs to become producers. Do this by announcing that there will be overtime in this round for some currency workers. Anybody who is sitting at this table, if you would give them a second sheet of paper, please. If you accepted 3 new producers, say 2 $1 workers and 1 $5 worker, give an extra half sheet of paper to 2 of the remaining $1 workers and 1 to 1 of the remaining $5 workers. Okay, the production round is open. Proceed with production and market periods. Anticipating the debriefing, pay attention to the bids and offers in the now much more competitive market.
4 for 10. Give me 5 for 2.
6 for the rest.
Okay. All right, Glenn.
I sold 2 for 10, 5 for 6, 1 for 5, and 2 for about 7.
The debriefing should help students to articulate what they experienced and to make the connection. What does the capitalist institution of competitive markets offer the world's poor?
The amount of money people are paying for bracelets, where it was like $10 for one bracelet, the first round it's down to like 5 or 6 for bracelets now. So.
Okay, so who benefited from me opening the market?
the poor.
Who are the people that became producers first when I offered that? All right, Christine and Laura. Christine, what about you?
Yeah, because when we were making so little, we couldn't buy anything because at that time the price of bracelets was like $25 or like 10, like minimum. So there was no way you could buy any.
Okay, all right. So you remembering that our goal here was to get as much as you could so that you could buy candy, either through bracelets or money. You guys are responding to the opportunities that you have, and particularly these two $1 workers thought that they would be better off if they went into production. Did anybody else? Glenn, were you a $1 worker?
No.
What were you?
10.
So how come you would give up being a $10 worker to become a producer?
Just because with more producers, there's more competition.
So you thought...
There's more chance to make money by producing it.
Okay, so the price went down. Markets offer the poor two opportunities they hadn't had before. The ability to purchase more goods because competition drove prices down, and the opportunity to take the risk of becoming producers themselves. Secondly, the debriefing should help them connect their simulated experience to a specific real-world situation. In this case, the spectacular reduction in poverty that has occurred in China during the past quarter century. Finally, in economics classes, you may want to show how the experience of opening markets can be portrayed graphically as an increase in supply. The effect of opening the market to additional producers is predictable, an increase in supply resulting in a lower price and increased sales. Oh, and one last thing, don't forget the candy. You've collected all the currency and the bracelets, so an easy way to distribute the candy is to have students use their transaction records as checks. And speaking of those bracelets you collected, unless your idea of a fun evening at home is unhooking a gazillion paper clips, you may want to add a disassembled bracelet to the price of each piece of candy.